All right, everyone. Can you hear me? Hopefully so. Welcome. This is the first iteration of the Share My Screen series. This is a project of the translational team at the Center for Injury Research and Policy at Nationwide Children's. This is one of our many projects dedicated to education and training of researchers and the public health workforce. Just anybody who's interested in getting better at communications at large. So brief introductions before we get going. So my name's Katrina Boylan. I am the senior research writer on the translational team. I've been doing this for about 11 years, and I will say the field of health communication has changed a lot. And so that was one reason we really wanted to start this series, is because, again, so many things have come online to make it so much easier to share your science and promote your programs and reach the audiences you're trying to reach. So two other members of my team will be joining us today and throughout this series. We have Tracy Mian, who's our manager of translational research and directs all of the translational activities we do, not only at the Center for Injury Research and Policy, but also our many programs, and then offers her expertise throughout nonprofits as well. And then we've also got Katie Donovan, who is, I think she's the digital design specialist now, I think. Sorry, Katie, if I butchered that a little bit. But Katie handles a lot of our graphic design, a lot of our visuals, and then some project management as well. You will definitely be seeing Katie in some future sessions. And so just a quick note about this series. So what we're really looking for here is to literally share the skills that we are using every day as health communicators. We definitely have one foot in the research and one foot in communications. And so those of you that are in different fields, maybe don't have the time to go over and look at the communication side. So we're trying to bring those skills right to you in a short, live, easy to digest format. We're going to keep these tight because we know that everyone's time is valuable. So we're going to break these down into 3 parts. We're going to take one topic and break it down into 3 parts. So obviously today we're kicking off with just kind of basics of design. So over the next 3 sessions, we'll walk you through some of the things that we do to use. We're going to kick off with Canva here to use programs to create some of the assets that we do. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and you're going to get a full look at this. You're going to get my full screen. This is how we've found it easiest to do this. And so I'm going to start here in Canva. And just a quick note, we have Canva Pro. We do have a nonprofit account. And so if you are a nonprofit or you have, I think it's an educator email, like a .edu account, then I think you can also get the pro version for free. You have to submit your 501c3 paperwork or do something on the educator side, but we're lucky to have a nonprofit account. I will say, if you don't have access to that, Canva Pro has so many more features than the free version that really make it easy to pump out great visuals pretty quickly, depending on what your needs are. So we're going to demonstrate using Canva Pro. So if you're on the free version and some of these features aren't available, again, maybe just something to consider for the future. Okay, so the first thing that I really wanted to cover today was brand guidelines. And if you're not sure what brand guidelines are, I've actually pulled up what our CERTC guidelines are now. It's basically just a collection of your brand or your organization's colors, fonts, logos. It might include templates. We work for Nationwide Children's, and so we've got templates for things like our posters at academic poster sessions. And so this is what your brand guidelines are. If you don't have those, go find them at some point because they will come in handy. This is what you need in order to enter these into Canva. Oh, and a quick note, just all of these sessions are recorded, so we'll be publishing these and you'll be able to go back and find this later. We are also going to be releasing a much more in-depth video series, hopefully starting at the beginning of May, that really breaks down these topics and provides more in-depth looks at the skills that I'm talking about today. But this is what our brand guidelines look like. This is what you're going to need. Okay, so entering these on Canva is pretty easy. You're going to go over to your brand. It's over here on your left-hand side, and go ahead and click on brand. And so you can see I've actually already entered. We run several programs here. So this one has several of those programs in it. I did create a separate one for Certsy because that's my main project. That's what I use a lot. And then I'm going to just demonstrate real quick on how to add a color here on this one, and then I'll go back and show you Certsy's. I've actually already done one here as a demo, but this is where you'd want to add any logos or anything. So I'll show you Certsy's here in a second, but if you have different versions of your logo, again, we're at Nationwide Children, so we have probably 3, 4, or 5 different versions of that logo. We're not going to put that in here because we're not, that's not what we're doing today. And again, anything that goes through the hospital has to go through a slightly different process. But for our projects, we absolutely will put all of our logos in here. And I'll show you that in just a second. This is where you're going to add color. And so going back to that Certsy identity document, these are the numbers that you're going to want. Anything that starts with the number sign or the hashtag, whatever you know it as, those are called hex codes. That's where we're going to add them here. So you're going to want to copy and paste your hex codes. All you're going to want to do, click that new color, go and copy and paste your hex code, paste it in here, and you'll have your new color. So fonts, you can also add your fonts. I will say Katie, when she was developing our brand kit for Certsy, she made sure that she found fonts that were available in Canva, which made it super easy for me when I went to go add this as brand guidelines. So what you want to do is, if you've got a font that you're using for titles, like we do, we would go in here, you have to choose your font, and then mine's already here because I've done it recently, but that's our header, or I'm sorry, that's our title font. And so then I would go through and I would just set these different ones, and I'll show you here what that looks like on our Certsy one. You can also add brand voice if you have that, along with any stock photos you might have or any of the graphics or icons you can use. But really, the logos, the colors, and the fonts are the ones that I find most useful. And so just super quick, here is what we look like for Certsy. I have a couple of different logos here. I have both my white logo and my black logo. This is also, it's a favicon, or just, it's a, we call them the bendies, as you can see. But it's what we use on like our X profile, or different type of social media profiles, or just it's that little folio that I can add to the corner of things if I don't want to use a full logo. Here we go with all of my colors. You could see that in the identity document. Those are our colors. So I've added all of those in there, including I have a gray that is one of our text colors, actually. I'll go back to this for a second. These two are actually the same, but it's one of our text colors that's not pure black or pure white. And so if I want to have something a little bit for the text that's not a color, but isn't exactly black or white, I've got that gray in there as well. Then, as I said, I've got my fonts in here, so I don't need to show you that. But, again, we've got our fonts in. I've got them in as the heading, the title, the heading, and the body, because that's what I use most often. So again, once you get your brand kit in here, then it becomes so much easier to create posts. And that's where we're going to go next. So I'm just going to go back to my home here. And we're just going to mock up a post. And so I'm going to use an example of something I just did recently. Again, we've got our foot in a lot of different places here, but again, we are also an academic research center. And so when we've got studies coming out, we will promote those in different ways through different channels to make sure that science is getting out to the people who need it in the way that they need it. And so we recently had a researcher publish a paper on safe sleep. She was doing some focus groups and had the paper come out, but she wasn't the lead author. And so we weren't going to do, a big push on it or anything, but we wanted to promote it somehow. And so we do have an X handle devoted to SERP, to our kind of academic peer-to-peer network. And so I was asked, hey, can you create a quick pull quote that we can post on X to help promote this paper? So I'm just going to walk you through what my process was, and I'll show you at the end what I came up with. I am going to use the Certsy branding though, because that's the one I'm in. So it's going to look a little different than the one here at the end. But first thing is to obviously select the size for the graphic that you're going to want to make. I will say this Twitter size does not translate well across all social media. So if it's something that you're going to want to use maybe across different platforms, an Instagram square or a different size might work better. But this was specifically going on X, so we're going to go on X. And the next thing is that this is a pull quote. And so I didn't need to spend a ton of time on the design, in my opinion. Canva's got a ton of great templates. And what I'm going to show you today is how to start with those templates and then customize them for your brand, your voice, and your own look. I would not recommend just using templates as is, but I personally think they're a great jumping off point. And again, I used one for this project. So when you're thinking about the template though, you do want to think about who you're talking to and where it's going to go. This is an academic kind of handle. It's not one that we have that's dedicated for more, kind of families or, we supported like nonprofits and things like that. So it wasn't that. It was definitely an academic style post. So I didn't want to get too kind of whimsical or, casual, right? We wanted to impart some level of seriousness. So kind of looking through the templates, the one I chose is actually up here at the top and the recently used, not surprisingly, but this is the one I ended up choosing just because some of these other ones were just going to be a little too whimsical, just not serious enough for what I'm looking for. I also didn't want to choose one with a photo because as public health professionals, we know finding photos can sometimes be difficult, but it's also, this is maybe just a personal preference, but I will choose a photo when I'm trying to reach maybe the public or families, places like that. If it's peer-to-peer, kind of academic, I might use the researcher's photo or very small photo, but I would probably not do a full-size photo. So I chose this one because it had a nice clean look. I could change out the icon to make it match the topic I was talking to, and it was going to be easy to redesign for my needs. Okay, so here's where I started on this. What I do first, and again, this is just in no particular order, is I go ahead and add in anything that I know already. So for instance, if I've got my quote already, and sometimes you do, you can go ahead and drop that in there. In this case, I didn't have it yet. I had read the paper and had some ideas about what I thought a quote could be, but we're health communicators and sometimes I've got 3 or 4 ideas, but I need to see how they work first. So I went to the visual before I did the rest of my quote. So what I would do is I go ahead and just update anything I possibly can. In this case, it's not the Great Mind Society. It's going to be, great researcher. And then make sure you get your title right, PhD. And then update over here. This is going to be where we're at, which is the Center for, you'll see my bad typing skills here. Research and policy. Okay, now it's flipped to 2 lines, right? So let's pull this out a little bit. Let's get gosh, there we go. Holy cow, there we go. Let's pull it out. And so what happens is all of a sudden this is gonna be off center. Now there's 2 ways to do this. You can either obviously move it around till you get the center, you get it centered, and you can tell that by the vertical lines. Oops, there it is. It shows up right there. But I wonder if this is a little bit off center just by the way these boxes are. So I'm going to do it the other way, which is to just make the box the size of the graphic and it will center it for me. So that's one way you can do it. Different elements, I will use the centering lines and things like that. But when it's like this, I actually think it's just easier to do it this way. All right, so the other thing I'm going to do right now is go ahead and change my font. That's not the font that I'm going to use for my brand guideline. And so we're going to stick with our CertC branding for the moment. So you can see it shows up right here. These are the ones that I've entered. And so, you might need to click around to find one that you like. This is the one that we use. This is my kind of header, not title font, it's my header. So I think that's probably the right choice. Looks great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and change this font too, even though I'm not going to change the language. Whoops, it's right there. I'm going to go to Cabin because that's our body font. And now what I'm going to do is swap out some of the imagery that doesn't fit. So obviously we're going to be talking about safe sleep. Brains, don't register with safe sleep. So I'm going to just delete this and then go over to elements. And thinking about, what we're going to connote for safe sleep, well, you can see all the history here because I did this recently. I looked for sleeping baby first because I didn't want to show a crib because those are, often problematic, or, a bassinet or, a play yard or something else. I thought, if I can just get an icon, if you notice the line drawing style, not illustrations or photos, but icons of a sleeping baby. So that's what I chose. And again, I'm not going to choose a photo because that's not what was there. And I think it's going to be too distracting for this post. So I went to graphics. And again, I'm looking for that kind of line drawing look, the icon look, rather than the illustrated look. And then the other thing to think about is public health professionals and researchers, we always want to show the right behavior, right? And so, most of these are not safe sleep practices, so we're going to skip these, even if you're sleeping on the moon, still need to be on your back, right? So I just scrolled through until I found one that met my needs. Unfortunately, way, way, way down here, let's keep going. There it is. This is the one that I ended up using. Sometimes you really have to go pretty deep in here to find a good thing for your visual. It could also be that you might need to change your search terms to specify icon, for instance, but I've got this one right here. So we're going to pop this guy in here and then readjust to make it the right size. And here's where we're going to center again, get that alignment right. And it will move around the text a little bit when I get that centered. But now that I've got that finalized, I can move on to the next step. You can change this one out here too if you want to, but I like that as an indicator of the pull quote. So once I have all the visual elements though lined up and as much text in there as I can, then I can move to color. And here I'm going to start with the background color just because that's the brightest. So to change the background color, and we just select and go up to the box. And because I've already got all of my colors here, it makes it super easy to see, okay, well, I've got an orange. Does that orange look good? And I don't know, personally, I don't think that looks that good. I think this might look a little better with a slightly darker color. And so here's where I'm going to just do a little playing around, come through and see, what does look good together. That's probably a little dark, right? So maybe we want to go with like this light green or something to see how does that look against it. And that's okay. But here's another thing that we do a lot. We get one thing set and then we duplicate it. And we see, okay, what does that look like then with the purple background? Do I like that better? And so we're able to go back and forth without seeing, without losing those changes. Now, I still think this one's pretty light. So let's see, what does that look like maybe with the orange? And that's a little better, but let's try one more. And so that one I actually like. Okay, and so what I do is once I would find this accent color, then I'm going to go through and make maybe some other things the accent color too. Oops. And I don't know if that's going to be right. Maybe we keep this one in the black, but I definitely want to change this color because that's an original color to the template. So any of the original colors to the template, you make sure that you want to change. But I actually think that pops nicely, and I'm okay with leaving that, just that color. You could add another one. I will caution you though, best practice in design is to limit it to about 2 or 3 colors. So you could actually make this a different color if you wanted to. Even that blue actually makes it kind of nice there. So last thing then would be to make sure that you're kind of lined up. And you see here, as I move things around, Canva will give you different kind of spacing information to let you know how far apart elements are. So in this case, you can see right from my screen, it looks like it's halfway between the sleeping baby at the top and the text at the bottom by the 52 on either side. So I'm going to leave it there and see how that looks. But once I get my text changed, then I will go through again and make sure that everything is centered or aligned properly. Okay. Now that we've got all of this set, there are a couple more things to do. And one thing that we love to do is to run our accessibility checker on Canva. For those of you that don't know where it is, it's buried a little bit. So you need to go up to your file, go up to file here in the left-hand corner. And then you're going to go down to settings and then check design accessibility. All right, and go ahead and click that. Now, this will run through and tell you, do you have any issues with the designs you've been creating? And so they will flag your alt text. So for instance, this is an image. And what I would do, because this is going to be exported as a full image, I would create alt text for the full image, not the individual icons within the image. So I'm going to ignore that one. But I want to show you real quick what it looks like when you've got bad contrast, for instance. So if I wanted to make this text, this color, right? Terrible contrast, even, it doesn't matter if you're, are vision impaired or not, that's bad contrast for everybody. But it will flag this over here and show you, here's a piece of low contrast text. And when you have your guidelines filled in already, your brand guidelines, it will offer up colors that are part of your brand guidelines. So you could go ahead and click one and it'll change it and fix that issue for you. Okay. If you're set, this is the last piece here. If you are set with your static graphic, you don't need it to do anything special. You can go ahead and export it from here. I will say sometimes Canva sets to export as PDF, so you do want to make sure that you are exporting usually as a PNG. Sometimes a PDF is fine, but usually for graphics like this, a PNG is best, especially if it has text on it. JPEG struggles a little bit with text. So I usually export in a PNG. But last tip here, I want to show you how you can quickly make static images into short movies. So if you're posting on Instagram or other places like that, here's a way to take your static image and quickly make it into something that moves so that you can share it as a video or a reel or anything like that. So it's super easy. You just have to add animation to one or more of the elements on your slide. So in this case, we could add animation to this icon. Go up here to your animate button that was up here at the top. And so when you click through here, you can kind of see the different effects. And I personally think that that's not really my focal point. So I'm not going to make that the animation. I'm going to make my text the animation because that's really the focal point of this graphic. And so if you go through, you can just kind of see what do you like? What would you stop and read, or what do you think makes this really bump out? Some of these are harder to read than others, right? And so, it's not you do kind of just have to play a little bit here. So that one's okay, but it's still not exactly what I'm looking for. You can do these writing ones. I did this actually for the Certi promo. That's what I did for this one. That's how I made that. But I think actually this one, I saw this one go through. This to me feels right. Like I really feel like this effect really highlights that pull quote. So how you would then export these is a little bit different. When you go up to your share button, instead of exporting it as a PNG, you're going to export it as a movie, an MP4. You can export these as GIFs. They don't play as nicely across platforms. I don't think you can actually upload GIFs to Instagram. But for other social media channels you can. So or if you want to have a GIF, we've created GIFs before to add to be available as just GIFs. You can do that too. But for this case, you want to export it as a movie. Oh, and make sure that you're only doing, of course, the page that you want instead of all of the other iterations, that you've maybe mocked up. And so that's all you do is then you would download this. I'm not going to go ahead and do that, but download it, and then you've got a little movie. Well, actually, we might as well do it. This is what they look like. It's going to take a second to do it, but this is what you can do to give it some pop, and then share it in a slightly different way as well. Oh, I also said I would go back and share what I ended up doing for our researcher post. This is what we ended up with while that's downloading. These are the colors actually for our nationwide children's brand guidelines. These are children's colors. And again, we have those loaded into the account. So I can follow our brand guidelines when we create things for our SERP handle. So that's what I ended up with. Super easy. It didn't take me that long to create. Honestly, it took me way more time to read the paper and write the quote than it did to design the graphic. And that's because I started from a template. I had my brand guidelines in. It was super easy to make that change. But all right, let's look. And I'll just show you super quick what this will look like. So as you can see, if you put this now as a reel or something else, it's maybe not exactly what you're looking for, but this is a super easy way to add some type of animation to a static graphic and then export it as a video, or you can again do a GIF as well. Okay, I'm going to stop there and stop sharing my screen. And now is the point where I am wide open. So we have questions. If you want me to go back over anything, I know that was kind of quick. Anything at all that we can, answer for you. We're here for that. So we're going to leave it open now. Oh, yes. Thank you, Tracy. Please type any of your questions into the chat or the Q&A. And then we'll see. Okay, so we've got our first one. How do you find your brand guidelines? So for us, we work for a massive organization. We work for Nationwide Children. So our marketing team has all of that information for us. Now, ours is all online, and we actually have a whole digital asset library. So that's where we go for that. If you're in a smaller organization, um, I'm also thinking about like county offices. It could be that, it's like where's your central location? Is it the county commissioners? Or if you're in, state agency, obviously you're going to have definite brand guidelines there. But usually a marketing team or anybody that's handling the outward facing look and feel, people who do website maintenance, that kind of thing, website construction, they might have those. But if you don't have them, you can also set your own. Again, we do these for our own projects, and it's all just, what do we like? We do try to change up our colors a little bit because it does get a little visually confusing at times. But if you don't have them, then again, you can almost set them yourself. So yeah. Oh, PIO. Thank you, Tracy. They may have a public information officer as well, if you're in a local government or something like that. So anybody, I think about, like, if there's going to be a media call, who's answering the phone, right? Those tend to be the people that would have those brand guidelines for you. Yeah, small health department. And depending where you are, you might not even have them, but it's always a good thing to ask around. Especially, I also like to think about who's creating the materials that we're handing out. If you're not doing them yourself, who in your organization is creating that? Maybe educational material or anything that's kind of public facing. That's probably where you're going to go to find them. So, all right, let's see. I know this is kind of a new concept, and we're just kind of trying stuff out. So it also could be that things come up later. We really do want these to be useful. And again, we're embedded in a large institution, and so we know the working conditions are different. So please, if anything comes up, we're available for questions and things. And these are the types of suggestions. If you find something in your organization or your daily work that you have questions on, or a skill you'd like to learn, shoot us a message. You can get us at info@certc.org. That's on our website as well. There's we have a contact form on the website. You can submit through there. Follow us on social media. It's just CERTC _ at all of those channels. And then honestly, you can email me directly. It's katrina.boylan@nationwidechildrens.org. We really want to make these sessions useful, right? And things that you can turn around and use, today, if you need to, in order to just, promote your programs better, be more effective in any type of communication. So, yeah, at this point, if there's no more questions, I think we can close up. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. We're excited to see where this goes. And keep an eye out in the future again, we're going to be launching a video series with much more in-depth trainings, more theory, more things like that here in the next month or so. That'll be out on the YouTube channel along with these recordings. So yeah, if that's it, then I think we can go on with our days. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and I hope we see you next time. Looking for more HealthComm content? Check out all of our trainings and resources at cirtc.org.